Taxes, taxes, read all about it. It's officially time to potentially pay the government or get a cute little check back. Hey y'all, it's Ariane and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Graduated and Grown podcast, a podcast that's focused on helping you and me navigate adulting because it is difficult and there needs to be a playbook. I hope your week is going well so far. For me, my week is going okay. It, I'll just say it's going okay. There's some things that are not going so well, but for the most part, I'm just happy to be alive and well in good health. So thankful about that. In today's episode, we're talking about taxes. If you don't know much about taxes, don't worry. You're just like me because Mrs. Henry from the TNT group is going to give us the 411 on everything we need to know, the documents you need, what you need to look for, like literally everything. The TNT group has been around for over 28 years and features experienced professionals in the areas of accounting, bookkeeping, tax prep, business management, financial planning, and so much more. They have a variety of clients ranging from well-known actors, athletes, entertainers, nonprofits, producers, and then you also have your regular, everyday people like me. I know taxes aren't sexy, but hey, they're important. Get your notes app ready because it's time for us to unpack the truth about taxes. I don't know about you, but I think adulting is hard. Figuring out your love life, finances, friendships, professional life, health, and how to make a freaking doctor's appointment on your own can be so overwhelming sometimes. So, welcome to Graduated and Grown, a podcast that's focused on helping you and me overcome the struggles of adulting. Let's have some fun yet honest conversations about life once you're graduated and grown. All right, so today we're talking about taxes, probably one of the words that I hear often, but I literally don't know much about. And today I have a very special guest with me, Mrs. Twana Henry of the TNT Group. I'm so excited to finally have you here on the podcast with me. And then, since this is your first time and my listeners have no idea who you are, can you tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself?
I don't really have much to say about myself other than just being a great tax preparer, accountant, and I enjoy what I do.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's start at the beginning of your tax experience. How did you start doing taxes? Were you like an accounting major in college, or do you have like a tax business like that runs in your family? How did you get started with that?
No, actually, I've always been interested in finances, even during high school, and decided to go into accounting when I started college. And actually, it was so frustrating. I kind of took a turn and started going into business management. And
Hmm.
while I was doing business management, I said, there were still things you had to learn about taxes and things like that. So I said, well, I might as well just go for it. So I ended up doing business management and accounting.
Nice.
And I've just always been interested in finances, and then, then interested in taxes and the tax law. And instead of really going towards the direction of being a CPA, I decided to be a tax accountant.
Interesting. And so, what's the difference between a CPA and a tax accountant?
Well, CPA normally deals with corporate finances, corporate accounting, the books of the corporation and audits and stuff like that. But with a tax accountant, is you basically focus on the tax law. I
Hmm.
help a lot of clients with getting them out of multi-million dollar tax debt. So
Mm.
that's my aim as far as, being an enrolled agent and just working with the IRS and working out, tax compromises and stuff like that.
Okay, nice. And you mentioned that you've had some clients that you had to get out of, multi-million dollar messes. So when we talked before, you mentioned that you've, worked with some celebrities. So how has that experience been doing the taxes of celebrities who are making like eight figures and above?
Well, good and bad. The good part at the end of the day is knowing that you've changed their lives and really helped them. And my main thing is teaching people, not just doing a tax return. is really
Mm,
teaching them the way that they should file and how to save on taxes, because the IRS never says that you can't save, you can't take all the tax deductions that are available to you. They've never said that. So
mhm,
a lot of people that I start working with, no one has ever told them to start a business. So,
mm,
they're performing and they're making millions of dollars, but no one has ever said start a business so that you can write off a lot of these deductions. So, a lot of
mm,
times they've come to me, they have these $1 million tax debts because no one has ever told them. So they flow all that money through them personally instead of through a
mhm,
business. And there's just some things that you can't write off personally.
mm.
I was able to almost 100% of my clients get them out of their debts by just teaching them how to do it differently.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you for that background and that information. I think that's definitely very cool. And now let's like solely focus on taxes. So let's start at the beginning of taxes. Why do I, as an American citizen, have to pay taxes?
Well, because our economy has to flourish some kind of way.
Hmm.
The only way that our economy can flourish is every U.S. citizen has to pay their share of taxes.
Hmm.
So when you work, you pay a certain amount, and you get deductions if you have children, dependents. If you're married, you get deductions. But if you're single, most single people are really affected because you really don't have much to write off unless you have a house or something like that. But you have to pay taxes just for your economy to be able to flourish like it does.
Okay, so basically, it's like Americans were paying like our fee to be American citizens. Okay, I get it. So I feel like I always heard about taxes when I was in high school and in college, but I didn't really think about filing taxes too much. So, when should I start filing taxes or when should young adults start filing taxes? Is it in college, in high school, when you're 18?
No, it's actually when you start working. So if you
Mm,
get your first job at 16, you're paying taxes at 16.
okay.
It's every working citizen has to pay taxes. Now, even if you're filed on your parents' tax return, if you make under a certain amount of income, of course, you don't have to file.
Mhm.
And even if you do file, you can still file, and whatever you pay in federal taxes, you can get that back.
Oh, nice. Interesting. Okay. So, me, for example, I'll use my personal experience. I had a summer job or internship since 2017. And looking back, I don't think I filed my taxes for 2017. So if I missed a year of filing, can I go back and pay it?
Yes, you can go back, and normally at 17, you don't owe any taxes. But say, for
Hmm.
instance, you paid into federal taxes. It could have
Hmm.
been $50 in federal taxes where you can get that $50 back.
Mm,
Now, what I
nice.
did when my children were in school and I knew that they weren't going to make that much, I told them to just go exempt. You can go
Hmm.
exempt when you know that your parents are going to claim you and you're really just going to get a refund anyway. You can go exempt and then you don't pay any federal taxes, so you don't have to worry about filing a return. But if you don't go exempt, then, then you might as well get that money back.
Right. And then how long can parents claim their children?
Well, you can normally claim your children as long as they're up to a college student.
Okay.
Now, I do have some parents that claim their children that's not in college anymore,
Hmm.
maybe because they're out job seeking, looking for a job, or really didn't have any income. Then the parent can claim their children, not really get all the credits that they're used to getting, but they can
Hmm.
still claim their children even if they're over 24.
Oh, okay. That's nice. Let's go back a little bit. So I asked about, what if I missed the year? You said I can go back and file that. Cool. So I know that there's like a deadline for taxes. What happens when you file after the deadline? Do you get less money in a tax return? Does it take longer to get back to you?
Well, no, usually, say for instance, like in your case, if you missed 2017, you have 3 years where you can go back and claim that money. If it's longer than that, they won't even send you a refund normally. But say your current year's taxes is due now in May instead of April, you can file what's called an extension. And then if you file an extension, you get, until October the 15th to file your return. Now, if you're going to get a refund, then there won't be any penalties that you would have to pay. But if you actually owe money, then you're going to be penalized 1% interest, 1% penalty per month until they've received your tax return.
Oh, wow. That's
And
interesting. I've never heard of that
yeah,
before.
yeah, and that's from the April filing date. So if you file in August, for instance, you're going to be charged interest. Well, this year it's May. It's always April, but this
Mhm.
year it's May due to the extension. But say, for instance, if you file in August, then you're going to pay penalties and interest from May until August. If you have a
Mm,
balance. Now, if you get a refund, then you don't pay any penalties at all. You can file next year if you want.
mhm. Interesting. And so you mentioned that there's an extension. Is that related to COVID? Like, why would they extend the tax period?
No, you get an extension every year. It has nothing to
Oh,
do with COVID. You can get a 6 month extension from April to October every year.
oh, nice. Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Do I have to pay to file my taxes? I feel like I've seen a lot of commercials for like H&R Block, TurboTax, and they say, "Oh, we file for free." Is that true?
You have to pay if you're going to go with a tax preparer. If you're going to
Mhm.
file your taxes online with the IRS, it is free. The only problem with filing your taxes online, and I'm not saying this because I'm a preparer, but if you file your taxes online and it's for free, then you don't really know if you're taking all the deductions and exemptions that that you're eligible to take.
Mhm.
Because they tell you right online is they don't give you any tax advice. So you're
Mm.
just answering questions on there. Once the questions are answered, you're done. But what a tax preparer will do is say, okay, this is your tax situation, but if you do this or if you do that, it could be better. You could get a better refund.
If a young adult was looking for a tax preparer, what should they look for? What are good qualities?
Yeah, years of experience.
Mhm.
And the IRS also has a list of approved preparers on their website. But experience is it's very very important. I mean, because sometimes just because you go to H&R Block or Jackson Hewitt doesn't mean you're really going to get experience because those people that work there, they train for 6 or 8 weeks, and sometimes there's issues there. So you really want to work with someone that has experience, that's been doing taxes for a while and actually keep up with their CE credits as well, which means they're doing
Mhm.
their annual studying on the tax law.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Um, so let's go and talk about tax deductions for a little bit. I was on like Twitter a couple weeks ago and I
Hmm.
saw something about how college students could like claim like laptops or textbooks
Hmm.
as tax deductions. Is that true?
Hmm. True. Yes. Whatever you need to get your education, you can claim, as educational credit.
Really?
Hmm.
So what other tax deductions are out there that like the average young person doesn't think about?
Well, normally college related. Like I said, all of the college expenses. Now, if you're not in college, there's really not much that you can claim.
Mhm.
That's the downfall, especially if you're single or not married and not have any children. Most single people are in one of the highest tax brackets. So I
Mm.
tell my clients all the time, even if you're working for someone, think of something that you really want to do if you want to start a business or something like that. Because as a single person, that's kind of like the only way you're going to save on your taxes. You get into a small business, and when you have a business, then you have deductions. You use your cell
Mhm.
phone, you use your car, stuff like that. But that's the downfall to being single, and making good money and being a college
Yeah.
student.
What about college scholarships? I know like for me, for example, I had like a big part, well, literally all of my college was paid for through
Mhm,
different scholarships. So, are
mhm.
those tax deductible? Can those help me at all?
Well, no. um, they only help when it comes to school. Sometimes scholarships could be they're tax deductible, but it means you have to pay taxes on those funds that you're getting on those scholarships. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing as well. Another issue with the scholarships is, say, for instance, if your parents or if you qualify for the college credit, well, they're going to subtract that amount that you received as a scholarship, because you
Mm.
can't use that because you didn't pay that out of your pocket. That was money that was freely given to you. So you can't use that to qualify for the educational credit. And some people will
Interesting.
do that, but you're not supposed to.
Wow. How much in scholarships do you have to have before they will tax you for the money that you received?
Oh, I can never answer that because it really depends on the income. For
Mm,
instance, if you're filing on your parents' tax return and they make pretty good income, then it could be all of it. So
mm,
it really depends. If your parent has low income, then you don't have to pay taxes on any of it.
mhm,
So the numbers is what matters when it comes to that. And it's like I tell everyone, I have people that come to me and say, oh, well, my friend got 2,000 back and I only got 500 back. Well, it's all down to the numbers because
mhm,
there no, tax return is like your fingerprint. No one's tax return will ever be the same, the exact same.
mm.
You know,
Interesting.
it could be where you work with someone, you guys make the same amount of money, but you could still get different refunds back because you could have a child, the other person could not have a child. You could have
Mhm,
tax deductions that the other person doesn't have, even if you make the same amount of money.
mm.
So you're going to get a different result. So, I can't just throw out numbers because it really depends on who's claiming you, if you're claiming yourself, and what your income is.
Got you. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about kind of COVID-19 in relation to
Mhm,
taxes. So I know like literally millions of people were on unemployment last year and this year. And then they got what was like the extra $600 in unemployment benefits.
mhm.
So how did the COVID-19 unemployment payments affect taxes for Americans this year?
Well, before the new stimulus that Biden did, a lot of people was not aware that when you claim unemployment taxes, it's fully tax deductible. So a
Mm,
lot of returns I did this year, people were wondering, well, why am I getting less back or why do I owe money? Well, because you took unemployment and when you did that, you didn't opt to have those taxes taken out. So they try to
wow.
tell people or something. If you have a good preparer, your preparer should tell you. If you don't, if you don't, then you'll get 6 months of unemployment, not knowing that you should have paid taxes on that, because the
Mhm.
federal and your state is going to tax you on that unemployment.
Wow.
But since the new stimulus, now they're giving a credit of $10,200 on your unemployment. So, say for instance, if you receive 5,000, you'll get a full credit of the 5,000.
Mhm.
If you receive 20,000, you'll get a credit of $10,200.
Wow.
What I've seen so far in all of my clients' returns that I've already finished, they're actually able to amend now because they're going to get money back because now they don't have to pay taxes on that $10,200. So
Mhm.
it does help. So that new stimulus is really helping people that received unemployment, which is a lot of people.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. And speaking of the stimulus check, I
Hmm.
know eventually the season will come where people are getting their tax refunds. A lot of people got the $1,400 stimulus check. I know your
Hmm.
business, you guys do some financial planning, and I'm sure you are just a genius with money since you work with it all the time. What would you suggest a young person do with their refund check if they don't have any debt, or even if they have just small amounts of debt?
Well, I suggest saving.
Mhm.
I do budgets all the time, and what I find, even with married couples, is people don't really know how to pay their bills.
Mm.
Even if they have the money, and that's a whole nother subject we can talk about at a later date. But um, I would say use those funds and put it up into savings.
Mhm.
Right now, I have clients that are investing. Investments are doing very well. But I would say really start looking forward to your future. So any money that you have that you can put up that you really don't need that you're going to blow, it's going to be worth more to you later if you start working on investments and saving. Uh,
Yeah.
it's just really, really important. And hopefully one day I can do a show on that because a lot of people are not really looking forward to their retirement. And, later on in life, at some point, I don't even know if
Mhm.
Social Security is still going to be available,
Ooh.
so. So anything that you get 500, 600 that you can set up or put aside and start looking into your own investments, it will really be worth it later on.
Yeah, I totally agree. Unfortunately, I think my generation, we have this mindset, "Oh, live now and you'll just die later. Like, you only live once. So let me live it up while I'm in my 20s and 30s, and I'll worry about my 50s, 60s, 70s later when I get there.
Exactly. And you know what? And the thing is, even with our parents and our grandparents, they really haven't learned really about finances like they should have. So it's
Mhm.
really brought down through generations where we all have that type of thinking about, oh, just live for today,
Yeah.
but we're living longer. So, and I used to be the same way. And then especially, I've been self-employed for 28 years. And I
Mhm.
finally had to wake up one day and say, wait a minute, I need a retirement. I can't just do this for the rest of until I die.
Mhm.
I need a retirement. So if I knew then what I know now, I know I would be a multimillionaire by now.
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and it's just making a few changes. And the best time to start is as soon as you walk across the stage.
Mm. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that unfortunately that is a mistake that a lot of people make. And then I also wanted to ask, what are some common mistakes that you've noticed that people make when it comes to filing their taxes?
Um, well, there's a lot of mistakes. um, some people will work with preparers that promise them large refunds. That's not
Ooh.
always good, because normally, if they're going to promise you large refunds without even looking at your taxes or your documents or whatever, then that means they're going to add a little bit here, add a little bit there, and that's never good because what happens
Mhm.
is if you just allow someone to do your return and what most taxpayers don't know is the IRS doesn't hold the preparer responsible. They hold you responsible.
Right.
So if
Mm.
you just let someone do your return and you're walking away like I got $7,000 refund, but why? Did you really qualify for $7,000?
Mhm.
And then what will happen is once you get that letter from the IRS, they're not sending it to the preparer; they're sending it to you, and then you
Right.
you have to explain how did you get that much money back? Why are you claiming medical expenses when you don't have the receipts for them? And a lot of preparers out here will do these returns, or say you have a business and you really don't have a business. But then once the
Mm.
IRS comes back and they want that money back, guess what? You have to give it back. The preparer is going to just walk away. So, when it comes to tax season, everyone gets crazy. People come out of the woodwork and they say that they're tax preparers,
Yeah.
so
I've
they can
seen a
make
lot of people on my Facebook.
yeah, so they can say they want to make this quick money, and they really don't want to take the full responsibility of, if your client gets audited or even reviewed, can you really stand in the gap and assist them to make sure that you're really providing an excellent service so that they
Mhm.
don't have to worry about owing this money back, you know? And that's the issue. I've had a lot of groups, and I'm not saying people, groups of people that have come to me, a group of teachers, a group of professionals that let someone in their workplace do their taxes, and he
Mm.
did everyone's taxes the same. Well, what
Mhm.
most people don't know is if the IRS sees that there's fraud on one, they'll look at everything that preparer has prepared. Everybody's tax returns will be
Wow.
reviewed. And then the next thing you know, you got 50, 100 people that's being audited because of something he did on one tax return.
Mhm.
So, I've had that happen where people have come to me for help, like help us because this is what happened. And I've had to fix the entire group,
Mm. That is
so
crazy.
um, that's the reason why when I do a tax return, I do it great enough to where I know that if my client gets audited, I'm the one that has to stand in and support what I've done.
Mhm. Let's say I had someone do my taxes and it was all messed up and I owe the IRS like $50,000, right?
Mhm.
Can I go to jail for that? Or is it just you're expected to pay that back and you won't get any tax refunds until you pay it off?
Right, you're expected to pay it back. Now, if you owe 50,000, what they'll do is kind of investigate you to see if this has been a problem ongoing.
Mhm.
And if it's been a problem ongoing, you don't just go to jail, but yeah, then they got you for tax fraud. But if it's just a
Mm.
situation where, okay, I messed up, my taxes wasn't right, or maybe your taxes was right and you just owe the 50,000.
Mhm.
No, most people will say, "Oh, I'm going to jail." I have people calling me crying. No, you're not going to go to jail. Tawana, I'm going to jail. No, no, you're not going to jail, but they're going to send you a letter. They're going to give you 30 days to respond. And if that
Mm.
50,000 is not paid in 30 days, or you have not done some type of a settlement or installment agreement or something, next thing you know, you check your bank account and everything that's in there will be gone.
No way.
Yeah, they're going to give you one warning. They're not going to keep sending you warning after warning after warning. They're going to give you one warning.
Wow.
Yeah, so I tell my clients all the time who has had this situation, because normally, with me dealing with the entertainment industry, I always get them when this has happened. Something like
Mhm.
this has happened, and they're calling me like they just took 100,000 out of my account. Like, okay, now
Mhm.
I want to fix this situation.
Yeah.
And when I started getting money back for people, then now I started having all kind of people calling me like, this girl, I don't know how she did that, but she got people's money back. You know?
I want to hire
Um,
her.
right. But usually it's because when you don't follow up and you don't follow through and set up some type of installment agreement or something like that, then they'll just take your money. They do give
Mm.
you an opportunity to fix the problem, and agree to make a payment arrangement or something. But most people will run away because they're afraid, or
Yeah.
they think they're going to go to jail, or like I said, until they open up their bank accounts and it's gone. Or if
Mm.
you own a house, you'll get a letter in the mail saying you have a lien on your house for
Woo.
50,000. So I tell them all the time, running away is not the problem. It's
Mhm.
fixing it is the solution. But you can't just run away and think it's going to go away, because it won't.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. You just know so much. And before we end this interview, I just want to ask, do you have any advice for young adults, young people that are in their 20s who are, either filing their taxes for the first time or, you know, st- just trying to adjust to having to actually file taxes? Do you just have any advice for people like me?
The only advice is, like I mentioned before, is pay attention to who you deal with.
Mhm.
Um, get someone that can be with you ongoing, and not just set up a consultation and then I'm finished with you. No, find someone that's really experienced in finances, that can lead you, not just when it involves taxes, but when it involves your budget, when it involves even your credit. Because finances is involved with all of that. It's taxes,
Yeah.
it's budget, it's credit, it's savings, it's retirement, it's all of that that's involved. So find someone that's really good in that area, that can kind of take you by the hand and lead you. It doesn't mean that you're not smart. It just
Mhm.
means that if you haven't majored in finance, then you kind of just need someone to just walk you through that path of just learning to make the right choices, so that you can
Yeah.
retire and know that you've made the best choices that you can make, starting from the beginning.
Wow, that's really, really good advice. And you also reminded me of one more thing I wanted to ask. So I know a lot of people in my age group were concerned about the stimmy. We want to know, can we get the stimulus check? So I think they've done what, three stimulus checks so far?
Yes, yes.
And I know a lot of people in my age group haven't gotten it because their parents claim them as dependents. So is
Hmm.
there any way that either college students or recent graduates can still get the stimulus money even if they didn't get it last year or last month?
Yes, it is a way, because actually, most people think, I've spoken to a lot of students and they say, well, my mom got that money. No, your mom
Mhm.
did not get the money, because parents were not getting the stimulus for anyone over 17.
Mhm.
So if your parents didn't get the stimulus this year, you can actually go back. It's called a recovery rebate credit.
Mhm.
And you can go back and you can claim those stimulus payments. So you can claim the
Ooh.
1,200, you can claim the 600, those two. So on your tax return this year, say for instance you didn't even have any income, but you
Mhm.
want those stimulus payments. Well, instead of allowing your parents to claim you, you can file and get that 1,800 in stimulus payments.
Mm.
Some people, or if your parents have to claim you because they did, support you for that year. They did help with your college and all of that. Maybe
Mhm.
you can make some type of arrangement with your parents, and they can give you some of those funds from their tax return. You know,
Mhm.
I've had a lot of clients that have done that. They've allowed their parents to claim them, and then their parents, share some of their tax refund with them. Or most parents have allowed their children to just claim themselves this year just so that they can get that $1,800,
Wow.
because it actually makes more sense to do that, because if your
Yeah.
parents claim you and they can't write the college credit off, they're only going to get a $500 credit.
Mhm.
It makes sense for you to file your own tax return to get the 1,800 instead of them getting the 500.
Yeah, that does make a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I know my listeners
Yes.
are going to be hyped about that, and they're going to, what did you say it's called? The rebate recovery?
Yeah, it's called the recovery rebate credit.
Okay, I know they're going to go all for that.
Yeah. And what I do too, I do taxes for people all over the United States. I give $100 credit to college students, and people that's just starting out. So,
Mhm.
feel free to give them my information, and that's what I do. I take you by the hand and help you out along the way.
That is what I'm all about. And I was just about to say, if one of my listeners wants to file their taxes with the TNT group, how do they go about getting in contact with you?
We are right online at www.thetntgroup.com. All of our information is there. Everything that we do is there. And give us a call, and we'll definitely set up an appointment. We do everything virtually. No one has to live in Florida or come down and sit in front of us. we we use what's called a portal system, because we care about, since we do a lot dealing with credit and things. We don't want anyone to have any issues with identity theft or anything like that. So we use a portal system where all you do is you upload your information to your own portal. No one can see it or view it but us. It comes right to our system. We do your return. We put all your information, your documents right up on your portal, and anywhere you go, you can access them. You just open up your portal and they're
Nice.
there.
Wow. And what are some of the documents that someone would have to submit to you through the portal?
Tax documents like 1040s, I mean, not 1040s, W-2s, 1099s. If you have statement from owning a house, 1098, anything like that, any church deductions, whatever you have for the year, you would upload, and then we would use what we needed. And if we needed anything else, then we would notify you and let you know what you're missing. Because a lot of times people don't know, what credits that they can get, but we make sure that we contact them and say, look, you qualify for this or you
Mhm.
qualify for that, and we'll get whatever other information that we need to add.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the Graduated and Grown podcast. I think it's really important for young people to really understand taxes and how to go about looking for a tax preparer so that they don't get played and owe
Right.
$50,000 to the IRS.
Right.
But again, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it. And hopefully, you have some new clients after this episode goes live.
Yeah, hopefully. There'll always be a client, I can tell you that.
Okay, so after listening to this episode, I know you are like on Google right now trying to find a tax preparer so you can file your taxes for 2020. I personally have worked with a tax preparer in the past, but I think just talking with Mrs. Henry today, I just learned so much. And, my life has been changed tax wise. And I really, really loved how informative she was. Like, actually learning about taxes is so important so you don't get played. And that's what we all need to know. And also, we need to remember how important it is to actually pay taxes. Like, I don't want the IRS having a bounty on my head. Again, if you're interested in having the TNT group file your taxes, you can fill out the contact us form on their website and then you'll be on your way. Oh, and the website also has a variety of different financial calculators that you can use that can help you make smarter financial decisions when it comes to like personal finance, your business cash flow, your savings, and even like planning for retirement. And their website is www.t, the letter N, T group.com. I'll also have that in the description for the episode. And Yeah, thanks again for listening and supporting the Graduated and Grown podcast, y'all. Our army may be small, but we are growing. It's so exciting. If you haven't already, make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast and rate the podcast 5 stars if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And again, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Graduated and Grown for more insight and maybe even like a little behind the scenes of the podcast. All right, y'all, peace out, and I'll talk to y'all next Wednesday. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of the Graduated and Grown podcast. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't already, be sure to rate this podcast 5 stars and subscribe to the podcast so you can get a notification every single time a new episode is posted each week. Also, don't forget to follow our Instagram at Graduated and Grown so you can learn a little bit more about our guests, about our topics, get some resources, and provide some feedback and or episode ideas for the podcast. All right, y'all, it was your host, Ariane, and I'll talk with you all next week.